we don't know about y'all, but we've been missing a little bit of college football lately. So that's what we've been talking about here. So we just went to we're gonna do a football episode, and we're just gonna do a super early uh, playoff predictor and go through a bunch of teams that we think are gonna have either good years or high profile schools that we're gonna go through and predict a little bit for you. So we'll first start off with college football playoffs. Now these are just on my end. These are just teams. The four teams I think will make it. Not certainly in order one, two, three, four.
Mhm.
The guys I got: Alabama, Georgia, Ohio, Ohio State, and USC. Um, I just think Alabama's going to make a comeback. I don't think they're going to lose the West 2 years in a row. Georgia, until someone beats them, I ain't taking them away. Ohio State, they look pretty good. I know they're going to have to replace a quarterback and whatnot last year, but also still hear, Jim Harbaugh going back and forth still. I think I saw a report the other day that he was interviewing again for the Broncos job right before Sean Payton was hired. So, I mean, who knows what's going to go on with him. And then USC, I think they might run the table this year in the Pac-12 or lose one game and win the championship. And sneak in there. Just the high profile of USC, Caleb Williams, and whatnot. I think they'll squeak in there. John, what do you got going on with your top four?
I got Georgia, USC, Ohio State, and Florida State in that order if USC goes undefeated. I think USC is going to have the hardest schedule of those four I just named off. The Pac 12 next year is probably, this might be a hot take, it's going to be better than the SEC. They're super deep at the quarterback position. And I think that's obviously, it's the most important position in football.
Hmm.
Every single Pac-12 team has an elite quarterback or close to an elite quarterback.
Yeah.
If they run the table, they're definitely in. Even if with one loss, they're definitely in. I left Bama off because they have to play Georgia, and Florida State doesn't really play anybody this year outside of Clemson, I think. And I think they can. They've been getting better every single year, so I think they can get them to the playoff with as long as they go undefeated.
Yeah.
They'll get in over Bama with one loss in the SEC championship.
Um, I mean, my prediction was for top four. I put mine in order just like John. I have number one still being Georgia, like John does. Kind of same thing you were saying, Jordan. I mean, until somebody can knock them off, it is theirs to continue running through everybody they face. I got Ohio State finally getting back in here. I think they're going to knock off Michigan. There's Bama is Bama. You're right with them having to face Georgia at the end of the year in the SEC championship. But as you know, the playoff committee loves SEC teams, and it's rightfully so that Alabama has their cake games in there. Playing Mid Tennessee State and USF. Chattanooga.
USF on the road. USF on the road.
They just wanted to have a beach trip to Florida. That's why they scheduled it there. But Texas will definitely be a tough matchup. We'll know by week 2 if one of those teams are going to be real deal this year. Just a shout out, Louisville got their first win. Let's go. But going against Texas, I think would say a lot here about Alabama and what they got for the rest of the year. As you know, early season last year, it was a struggle to beat Texas. I think if Texas didn't go through 3 quarterbacks like San Francisco did in the conference championship, I think Texas might have won that game. But let's see how it goes. Tennessee is definitely going to be a tough one. No slide to Kentucky. I mean, at Kentucky is going to be hard regardless, but I think that's the wrong time to play Alabama. That's when they hit their groove is at the end of the year because they got a lot to prove. They got a lot to show going against Georgia in the SEC championship. Even if they lose, I still think they're going to get put in there. And then, again, I got USC like you guys. I think they're the better team in the Pac-12.
Yeah. So there's our early college football playoff predictions. Obviously, this is the last year of the top four making it. And I believe it's the next year. Let's see, 2024, 2025 season. Yeah. So it should be the next season after this one that we're looking at 12 teams. So that's when it'll get real fun. I can't wait for next year. So moving on. So like we said earlier, we've been chatting a lot about college football. I think it's probably our top favorite sport to cover that we all three of us maybe would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and get into it. So we're going to start locally with UK and U of L. Then we're going to move into, we got some top teams or high profile teams we're going to discuss, look at their schedule, break it down, choose some games real quick. So first off, just because it's the first one I did earlier, we'll just look at Kentucky real quick. So Kentucky opens at home, 3 straight at home. We got a total of 5 away games this year, so 7 at home, 5 away, and a bye week. We're pretty much right smack dab in the middle. So guys, let's discuss this one a little bit. I don't know how much in depth we want to get because obviously rosters still aren't completely set. We haven't gone through spring, so this is just our early prediction, real quick. I'll start off. We got Ball State, EKU, and Akron. I'm assuming. I think we all three have Kentucky winning those first 3 games at home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Vandy on the road on the 23rd of September. I think as a fluke last year. Last year was just a weird year. Started off strong, injuries kind of hampered down the stretch, but I don't like using injuries as an excuse. You still never should have lost to Vanderbilt.
It was a Brillo shit show.
Yeah, cold, rainy shit. It was just awful.
Yeah.
John, didn't you go to that game?
I did, unfortunately. That was a good little bit of money well wasted there.
Well, at least you got to see potential #1 overall pick Will Levis.
I got to see the worst play calling in the history of mankind in person. It was great.
I hope for you guys' sake that he is actually good in the NFL. I really do.
This doesn't affect me once he leaves UK, man. I promise. I do not care. Unless he comes to Atlanta, I do not care.
No.
He can bag groceries for all I care now.
We all have Kentucky beating Vanderbilt on the road. Home game against Florida a little bit later in the year instead of the second weekend of the year, September 30th. Who do you guys got on that one?
I got a UK. Being at home is definitely going to help you guys out a lot.
I think this is the one time Kentucky routes Florida. We can actually sit and relax and watch one of these games.
Yeah, that I could get by that. Florida, they're different, they're weird. A lot of weird things going on down there right now. So this might be another down year for Florida.
Not paying up.
Yeah. Next game, Georgia on the road. I definitely think we all just said until someone beats Georgia, we're sticking with them, and I don't think Kentucky's going to beat Georgia, even though they're very tough every single year. I think we all three are in consensus. Georgia's going to win that football game, right?
Yeah, they're gonna beat us like a drum, and we're still gonna be off the high from the Florida game. So that's a recipe for an ass kicking.
Yeah. And last one before the bye, Missouri at home. We all three have Kentucky. Missouri's always a tough game, but I think we beat them 6 straight times. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Something like that. So, and coming out the bye week, hits the home stretch. We go 2 home games, 3 away games. We got Tennessee and Alabama at home. Do you guys think Kentucky has a chance in either of those games?
Sadly.
So I picked them to lose both of these, but the best chance I have is against Tennessee. We saw how Tennessee folded down the stretch last year. I think we got a good shot at that out of the 2.
Yeah.
Their defense is still not going to be great. Most of their weapons they have still are offensively. So as long as we can slow them down on offense, it's easier said than done. But that's the only one of the 2 I think we can pull the upset in.
Yeah. So got all choose Tennessee and Alabama in that one. Away games, we'll start Mississippi State on the road, November 4th. Me and John, both of us pick Kentucky. Tyrone, you went with Mississippi State. Can you elaborate a little further on that one?
Yeah, I just feel like, and this is not a sly. I mean, honestly, any game in the SEC can be a toss up right there, especially with Mississippi State. They already gave you a run for your money last year. I
Eh,
mean,
I don't think so.
the game was, I just looked at it earlier. I think it was like 3-3 or 10-10 for a little bit into the third quarter. Then you finally took the lead at the end of the third, and then, you know, ended up winning 27-20. But it was a fight throughout the whole entire game. Will Levis did not play that great. But
Yeah, they didn't cover the forward pass till the second half in that game.
yeah. So I don't know what to expect. I mean, coming off a Tennessee matchup where Levis, or not Levis, but Leary, if he's not, getting still scraped off the ground after playing Georgia, that's, you got 2 weeks to kind of recover and play Tennessee, and then probably get beat up some more against Tennessee. Then you have to go to Mississippi State, who's going to probably give you the best football at this time of the year, because this is when everything's either clicking or not clicking. So, I mean, that's why this is the early prediction. That's why I'm going with Mississippi State. I feel like they'll probably have it clicking going into this game. And I think it's just going to be too much. It's always the back half schedule for you guys that gets really, really rough, as you've seen this year. So I think the back half of this schedule is going to be rough, and that's why I picked Mississippi State.
To back up Ty's point, uh, Kentucky and Mississippi State, it's been back and forth both ways. Whenever whoever has the home game usually wins this one, but I wanted to pick Kentucky. I think their offense is going to be a little more high powered than Mississippi State is next year.
Yeah, I mean, both those are great points. And Tyrone, that does, back up your point. I mean, it does make a lot of sense. That back half of the schedule does usually give us fits. I think it's more so attrition down the line after playing so many SEC games. That some of those smaller ones in the back half of the schedule can turn up as games that are a lot closer than should be, especially on the road. Road games are always hard. So we can agree on that one. I can kind of put the same sentiment in our next one. November 18th, South Carolina on the road. That's kind of where I picked. I went with South Carolina. Tyrone, you went with South Carolina. And John, you stuck with Kentucky. I'll just ask, what do you see from us that thinks something will change to get that win on the road? Because obviously we lost him at home last year. We didn't have Will Levis, but Spencer Rattler's absolute garbage until like the last two games of the season last year. So what do you have going into that one that gives you confidence to make that pick now?
I think Kentucky's defense can give him fits. We give a lot of different looks. Usually, when you just run base sets on defense, he always finds a way to pick that apart. That's what Tennessee did against him, and that's why they got absolutely mollywopped by him. I think we can hang with them offensively. I think this game's going to be a dogfight, given this is way too early, and I don't know how our defense is actually going to look. But I trust Brad White in this game.
Oh, that makes sense. There's a lot of really good points there on that one. I just think I'll take, what Tyrone was saying about Mississippi State and going on the road, playing that game. That game's always close for us. So that's kind of what I was going with this one. Because that atmosphere in South Carolina, it looks pretty fun, pretty crazy to be in and play in. So I know Devin Leary's played in probably some big games. I know he's played at Clemson, so it probably shouldn't bother him too much. But that's why I chose Carolina. Tyrone, why did you go with Carolina?
I went with Carolina just because they return, a lot on offense, even though we have no respect for their quarterback and Spencer Rattler. But I mean, then you look at their schedule. I mean, I know, like I said before, anybody can win in the SEC, but I mean, they have home game against Jacksonville State, have a home game against Vanderbilt. So I won't say any game's easy, but they kind of don't have to. I feel like they're not going to have to worry about being roughed up. They'll kind of be a little reserved in those games, and I think they'll be able to give you their full throttle in that matchup, and they're at home. I mean, playing anywhere on the road. Their last 4 games of the year are at home. So I feel like they're still going to knock off Clemson again because they're playing them at home. But I think this is just going to help South Carolina, make a way to maybe I won't say New Year's Six bowl, but they'll finish their second half of the year much better than Kentucky's finished their second half of the year.
All right, so yeah, we got 2 for South Carolina and 1 for Kentucky. Going to the final game of the year, rivalry week. Kentucky on the road to Louisville this year. Game that we should probably plan to go to.
Yeah, I will be there. I got season tickets this year, so I will be there.
Me and John will have to snag some tickets and better spots than his and wear blue down front.
It won't matter anyway by the end of the game or by the fourth quarter. We'll be sitting down there anyway when it's all empty.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say. I think it's safe to say we're picking our respective schools. Me and John got Kentucky, and Tyrell's got U of L. All right, there's not much to it other than that. We're going with our schools because we think they're better. I just think, it's going to be.
And it's at Louisville, so
Brom obviously does not like Kentucky, and I don't think.
I wanted to point something out before we move on to this point. Okay. Ty picked us to go 6-6.
Yep, he picked us to lose the final 5 games of the season coming out of the bye week.
Yeah.
This team's better than last year. What are you doing, man?
They are? So you pick Leary over Will Levis?
I've said this multiple times, yes.
You pick Rodriguez over – is Rodriguez back this year for you guys?
No.
Okay. No. Who's your running back?
We got Ray Davis from Vanderbilt, the dude that busted all over us.
Okay.
Yeah,
he busted over you guys. Who did he do it again? Who else did he do it against?
He was the number 1 ranked running back in the transfer portal.
And he had over 1,500 yards, I'm pretty sure, 1,200 yards. Somebody fact check me on that.
Ray Davis ran for 1,042 yards and 5 touchdowns last year.
I thought he had more than that.
Yeah, he had 129 yards against us, 167 on South Carolina, 122 on Florida. Hell, he even had 60 hung on Tennessee there in that last game of the year that they got busted 56-0.
You're coming off a bye. It is good. It's probably best that you're coming off a bye during this stretch. But again, you're playing Tennessee, you're playing Mississippi State, Alabama, and South Carolina. That is by far the toughest.
Mississippi State is not that good. I'll give you the other 3. Mississippi State is not in the same caliber as the others.
At Mississippi State makes it a difference.
At Mississippi State, with a first-year head coach, yes, he was a defensive coordinator, but you lose Will Rogers. I believe Will Rogers is gone.
Will Rogers should have 1 more year left. It says he's a junior. I don't know if he entered the draft or transferred out. He doesn't have a photo of himself, but yeah, he should have another year left. He led the nation in passing at one point and stayed up there in the top 10, but
he's still listed on their website. So
yeah, I think it's going to be tough. That's why it's early expectation. There's no bias here. If this was Louisville playing this schedule, hell yeah, I'd probably have us at 6-6 as well. But
you'd have yourself at 8-4. Don't you kid yourself?
Huh?
I said you'd have yourself at 8-4. Don't kid yourself.
We would not beat Georgia.
Go on the road and beat everybody.
We would not beat Georgia. We would not beat Tennessee. We would not beat Mississippi State away. We would not beat Alabama for damn sure. The only one, actually, Mississippi State and South Carolina, the only toss-ups. And I'll be like, I'll give it to South Carolina and Mississippi State because it's a away game. I see. I'm
doing my best to get you going, and it's working.
You gotta get it going. It's we gotta keep the people going, as Will Ferrell says. So I feel like 6-6 is rightfully so. Y'all could go 7-5 by beating us, which as history's shown, yeah, you probably will. But my prediction right now is Louisville's going to come out with a different fire.
All right, so Tyrone 6-6. I'm sitting at 8-4. John, you're sitting at 9-3. So these are our February 1st predictions for next year for Kentucky. Let's move on to U of L. We'll go more in depth with U of L like we did with UK, and then the rest of them we'll kind of breeze through because let's see. All right, so Louisville is sitting here with 3 away games, 2 neutral site games, and the rest sitting at home at the new L&N Federal Credit Union Stadium.
Yes, sir. The L&N. Just make it short. Nobody's going to say that whole dang name. I don't care. They're giving us money, so you can name it whatever you want. It could have been the KFC, like like our arena. So I don't care as long as you're paying us.
Yeah. So, first game up, neutral site, Chick-fil-A kickoff game against Georgia Tech. Is this considered an ACC game, or is it just considered a non-conference game against an ACC opponent like Wake Forest did with someone years ago?
No, it'll be ACC. It'll be an ACC game.
Okay. I just want to make sure because I actually didn't have a clue on that one. Georgia Tech, Murray State, Indiana, Boston College. Those first 4 games, 2 at home, 2 on the road or neutral site.
Yeah.
We've all got U of L winning those games. Tyrone, do you see any of those games giving you fits at all?
Probably nerves in the Georgia Tech game in the first half, but other than that, I think we should take care of business like we're supposed to. I mean, I'm excited for the Indiana matchup. I got ties to that one, so
I don't know how you're marrying into that, but I'm sorry. That's ridiculous.
That is disgusting fan base.
I have not had one problem with them. Maybe in this game I will once they see me in my all Louisville gear and I'll see them in their Indiana, but no problem with it.
I've never seen somebody worship a regular season basketball game more than these people.
That's why we've never played them again.
Yeah.
Never in my life have I seen somebody just love a regular season college basketball game quite like Indiana fans. It's disgusting.
And then you ended up beating them in the tournament, so it's
not just beating them, just beating the dog shit out of them. Like they got Christian Wofford shot or whatever the hell his name was and shove that up your ass. You lost to us in the tournament.
Hey, they still have that one over you, and they will
on their popcorn boxes. All right, let's reel back into football.
Yeah.
Reel back in. What about that Boston College game? They've given you fits every year.
Yeah.
Do you see that being a close game? It's at home. I mean,
I feel like we'll get our rhythm going. Georgia Tech, like I said, will be bumpy because it's first game, got those jitters out of the way. Probably getting to see how players play in game time situations, not just practice. So I think we'll start getting the right guys in. Murray State will try out some new stuff, not go too fancy and won't get injuries. Indiana, same thing. Won't try nothing fancy, won't get injuries. And I think Boston College at home, this should be a 3-touchdown game. If it's not, I mean, hey, a win's a win. But I feel like at this point we should start getting it going, and we shouldn't have no problem with them.
All right, next one, NC State. I picked Louisville, and both of you picked NC State.
Yeah.
I'll just say, why did y'all take NC State, considering what that game was like last year?
Yeah, I'll let you take it. I want to know why you picked us too, or pick NC State.
NC State plays pretty good at home. Almost forgot they lost Devin Leary, but it is what it is. If they still had Devin Leary, then y'all for sure are taking an L. But honestly, I just know they play well at home, and that's why I picked NC State.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's literally why I picked them. This is our first real true road test, and NC State has a hard place to play at. Yeah, we dogged them this year, but it was an injured team. We were hitting a high after beating Wake Forest, and they just caught us at the wrong time. Right time for us, wrong time for them. But I don't know. NC State's going to be a rough one on the road. But as you see, it's going to build up fire into next week. So why'd you pick Louisville?
Honestly, I'll be honest. At first, I typed out NC State, and then I went back and looked at the schedule, and I was from last year, and I was like, they beat them by 15. And I'm trying to figure out who they're going to have a quarterback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who are they going to have a quarterback? And I don't think they'd be better than what they had in Devin Leary.
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of what is. Obviously, just like we've all said, it's February. This prediction, when we do it in August, right before the season starts, it could be completely different from what we're saying now. But I was like, I don't think that's a game that they're gonna lose.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't have us going undefeated, so I had to pick and choose a game there. So I know Louisville, and I know I don't want to be like you say most of us were when KP got hired. Oh, we're going undefeated, win the championship. I don't want to do that with Brom. I don't want to put that pressure on him, but I think he's handled the pressure well with the recruits he's brought in, coaching staff he's brought in. I think will be very promising, and we probably will win this game. But my mindset in February is telling me we'll probably sustain a loss in the first half of the schedule, and it will be against NC State.
All right. Well, moving on, you do get a big game at home. Notre Dame coming in. John, both me and you picked Notre Dame. Not gonna get into the fighting Catholics because we all know what road that leads down, and we're gonna have a PG show today. But why did you pick Notre Dame?
I think that team's going to be a little bit better than they were last year. They've been adding some key players to the portal and through recruiting. I think Notre Dame's they're not going to be back. They hadn't been back for like 50 years, but they're going to be pretty solid next year.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I think they're going to be good enough to where they'll be in these type of games. I just don't think that this is going to be the one of the games that they end up losing. I'm looking at their schedule. They've got Ohio State, USC, Clemson, Stanford's not really anybody anymore. But I mean, those are the three games where I could see them slipping up. I don't know what Wake Forest is going to be like this year.
That's crazy.
Or NC State. So I mean, it's just one of those games where and it might even be the name factor. Notre Dame over Louisville, history, whatnot. For the most part, I think this is a game in the first half of the season that Louisville would slip up on my end.
But you have the right to think that. I mean, I feel like Louisville's going to win this game, and the reason why I say Louisville's going to win this game is this will probably be one of the biggest games in the L&N Stadium. I think it's going to be a packed house. I'll be there for it. It's going to be a packed house. Yeah, Notre Dame's going to be good at this point. They're going to be coming off a kind of hard schedule here. They're going to be coming off, not a hard schedule, an easy schedule up to this point. The hardest game they have is Ohio State. And then they have at Duke right before us. But then I think in their mindset, if they beat Ohio State, which, as you know, I don't think they will because I have Ohio State going to the college football playoffs, I think they'll have that one loss to Ohio State. They're going to get their groove going against Duke. And I think after Louisville loses to NC State the week prior, they'll kind of look passes into USC, try to get ahead of schedule there. And Louisville's just going to take care of business like we did with Reggie Bonifant back in, I think 15 or 16. I think we'll take care of business here. That's why Louisville at home is different. It's different, especially when there's fire behind, the fan base.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different atmosphere this year. There will be a different atmosphere upcoming this year than there was last year.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of embarrassing seeing the turnout to football and basketball for you all.
I mean, ticket revenue probably saved the 22 fiscal year just from season ticket sales in 2023. Just once Brom was hired, ticket sales jumped, and I'm pretty sure it saved them from a bad financial year for sure.
Yeah. So last game before the bye, you're going on the road at Pittsburgh. I believe you all handled Pittsburgh pretty well last year, albeit at home.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we all took Louisville. I don't think any of us think Pitt's anything special. So going into the bye week, all of us, what are we looking at?
Against Duke.
Yeah.
On in, coming out of the bye week, Duke, Virginia Tech, and Virginia. You got 3 straight home games out of the bye week. That is, your back half is loaded with home games.
Yeah, it's huge. That is
And
huge.
that Indiana game's pretty much a home game because it's only 2 hours away from Louisville. And
Yeah,
you know that.
it's
Yeah,
closer
but
to Cleveland.
but who's actually they don't care. They tried to get out of this game.
And that's where I got Bloomington fans, Indiana fans do not care they care, and they care if they suck because they're still going to go to that game tailgate, especially against Louisville. They're going to show out for this game in Lucas Oil. It's going to be crazy atmosphere there for sure.
We'll see. So yeah, those 3 home games coming out
It's
of the
going to be
gate.
lukewarm at best, let's be honest.
You what?
It's going to be lukewarm at best.
It's going to be just as crazy as Wofford hitting that 3.
So they're going to hang on to it for 15 years.
Moving on, football. Y'all throwing shots at each other. Duke, Virginia Tech, Virginia, 3 straight home games. We all have Louisville winning those.
Yep.
I don't think there's going to be any problems sitting there. And then going into final game before the Kentucky game, which we've already talked about. We've got Miami on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And John picked Louisville. Tyrone, you and I picked Miami. Was this another one of I can't have them go undefeated? I just had to pick a person to pick a team. Is this another one of those?
For me?
Yeah, that's what you. I mean, that's why you picked NC State.
No, I picked NC State because that was our first true road.
Yes, you called him on it. Thank you.
You said, and I couldn't have them going undefeated. I couldn't put that pressure on Brom, so I had to pick a team to lose to.
And that I had to pick a game there that I feel like is going to be very, very tough for us. And our first road game is definitely going to be tough. NC State is going to be tough. And as John pointed out, NC State versus Louisville has been a tough matchup, no matter what. So I think that's why NC State is going to be a loss for us among being, I don't think we'll go undefeated right there. And the reason I picked Miami is the same reason I picked NC State. It is a road game in Miami. And Miami has, I think, the top 10 recruiting class coming in. Not to mention they had a top recruiting class this past year. No, they didn't do that great, but they were freshmen. So this year is going to be their second year. They have people transfer in, and they got all these recruits coming. I think Cristobal is going to get them on the right track. It's the end of the year, end of the season is when they're playing the best football, or they're either going to be very, very injured. So I think this is going to be a win for Miami. We get
All I'm going to say.
We get to enjoy the beach.
Look. I picked Miami to win. It's a road game. I'm kind of rethinking it, but I didn't want to go 10-2, to be honest.
Yeah, see, what the heck? That's your logic too. You didn't want to say that's your logic too.
I started changing up because I remembered their quarterback. Tyler Van Dyke said last year, I like playing road games better because the atmosphere is better. It's not even a road game because no one shows up to Miami football games at all.
It's going to be like a Indiana football game. Nobody's going to be there. No one cares.
It's pretty much a neutral site game because it's like 25 miles from campus.
Indiana fans go to games. They just tailgate and don't go into the actual game. And if they do, they leave at halftime and don't go back in.
I mean, I wouldn't want to watch that abomination either. But all 5 Miami fans that are going to be in attendance are going to be going crazy, but they're probably still going to lose even with all these recruits. They're basically Texas with less fans.
So, all right. So, sitting now, going in the rivalry game, we already talked about this when we talked about Kentucky on who we think is going to win and why. So we're ending it off. I got 9-3. Tyrone's 10-2. John's 9-3. Hurts a little bit that I picked Kentucky 8-4 and Louisville 9-3, but also Kentucky's schedule is a lot harder.
Yep,
I would say. For whatever year for Brom to come in, this is probably the best year because your schedule is not cupcake. There's one team on here that's soft, and that's Murray State. Every other team is a part of a Power 5 conference or independent, whatever, So, not a cupcake schedule, but the talent surrounding some of those schools isn't as high as what it's been in years past. So, but guys, I think that wraps it up. And Drizzy's going to be signing off. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you enjoy. Tstalls out.